Hello, neighbor. What's good? So, happy new week. Welcome to this new week. This is the last week in November, about to enter December. I sound like some kind of news correspondent, I know. Let's take a breath. Okay, so, we're going to continue with the story we've been doing, and that story is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. So we're here and let's go on. So quick recap in part 1 is that Iris and Roman are both they're both competing for columnist position at this newspaper, the Gazette. Roman is a rich one. His family is quite well off. Iris, they're struggling. Her brother just left to war. It's a time of war, and it's just her and her mom left. But then we find out that her mom dies at the end of part A of the story, and she's all by herself, and she's now thinking, what am I going to do with myself? And she's grieving. That's where we stopped. So part of her grieving is that she now wrote a letter to that person she's writing letters to. You know, the person that when she slips notes under her wardrobe, it disappears and goes to him, and he receives her letter and then he writes back. So she just told him that the thing about her grief is that she's tired of being left alone. Her grandma died, that's her nan, and then her brother left for war, and now her mom left. Why she always the one they leave behind? Why? That kind of thing. So she's like, no one can save her from this, the way she's feeling. Like, she knows no one can save her from her grief, even if Forrest were to return and things like that, because people don't have their lives figured out. So it's up to her right now to know where to go from here. So Roman wrote her back, and then he now shared the story of his own grief, of his sister Georgiana Delaney. That's her name, you know, but he used to call her Del. And this girl died on her 7th birthday because of him. What happened was that she was this adventurous, lively child. She was born when he was 8 years old, you know, so he was really quite tight to her, that big brother thing and things like that. And this is a child who likes to play a lot, like jump up and down, all those boisterous children that will not sit one place. So the thing now, she wanted to go to the lake, to swim and things like that. She's always dragging him to do one thing or the other, even though he will not want to do, but he will agree. So on this day now, it was her 7th birthday, and she wanted to go to this lake beyond the wall. And, you know, he just dragged him, and he couldn't say no to her. So they went, and he was watching her. You know, they would take the swing, and everything was going okay. So just this one time, just to let him close his eyes for 1 minute, just 1 minute. Next thing, he wakes up, and her lifeless body is floating. And that's so Trump. He had to carry her lifeless body back home. Do you get, like, the extent of the trauma and things like that? And, you know, they were mourning. Around that same time, a month later, as, you know, into the morning, a goddess came to him in his dream. At that time, he was 15. She now offered to take away the grief. But to do that, she also take away the memories of Dell. So he refused. He's like, he'd rather have his sister's memories with the grief, because they're not all bad memories. So he let her know that you're not alone in your grief, okay? Then at the office the next day, Iris, she kept Roman at arm's length, okay? Remember, she does not know she's writing to him. She just thinks she's writing to a nameless, faceless boy that's probably not in the same time as her. So she was snacky because, you know, when he came, I was like, because he told her, you look well today, we know. And then she now retorted, are you implying I looked ill before, Kurt? Zeb Autry, their boss, he called for Iris to enter his office. He didn't give her a chance to explain anything, because all he called her to do was to tell her that she's been bad at work, this one, that one. And Iris was just quiet. So when she left that office, Iris was like, why did I let him walk all over me? What sort of person am I becoming? I don't like this. So she wrote obituaries that day, you know, including her mother's own. The next day, Iris overslept. So when she came to work, her boss was mad. Told her that he had decided he already gave the columnist position to Roman. And Roman, surprisingly, was like, give us one more chance. And even the Oga was surprised. You and this girl not competing for this thing. Have you people not been fighting? How do you want me to give her more chances? When he was like, the boss was like, I am not doing that. I've decided that she's inconsistent. It's you that have been delivering well, delivering on time. This is that. Roman was now broke the news that actually CEO Iris lost her mother. Her mother died. That's what happened. He read the obituaries and saw, because she wrote obituaries, including her own mother's own. And then, so Zeb was like, Iris, why did you not say anything? That you should have said something. Okay, I'm going to give you a few days off for bereavement. This is that. So that's when he dawned on Iris, like, I really don't want to work here. I don't want a few days off. She just said, I don't want it. I quit. The Zeb guy, he gave her last salary and then she left. Roman tried to stop her. He couldn't, not even as her pen pal, because she would not open the letter. Because she did not want somebody to change her mind. So they both thought it's the end of their communication. They thought that it's the magic of oaths that is making them be able to exchange letters. But the next day, Iris packed as light as possible, and then she went to Ink Reading Tribune, the Gazette, the Gazette main rival, main competitor. She went there to apply as war correspondent. Remember that in part A, it was Zeb himself that showed them. So you can see how ironic it is. It's this boss now that she just quit from that showed them that Ink Reading Tribune has positions open for war correspondents that is paying double what Iris earns at her current position at the Gazette. Do you get? So that's where Iris now went to, because being war correspondent will bring her closer to the front lines, closer to her brother, hopefully. So she now agreed. She now went to Ink Reading Tribune, applied there. The boss, Helena, happened to see Iris's typewriter, because, that whole show me your typewriter, you can only take this, is that, things like that now, just normal procedures and things. So when Helena saw Iris's typewriter, she now revealed the mystery behind the typewriter. The mystery behind the silver imprinted words, the third alouette, because it had it at the back, the silver engraving at the back end part, like the underside of the typewriter. So now said that there are actually only 3 alouettes. And these things were created because a rich man's daughter, Alouette, she was sick, and then she had 2 best friends, but she was sick with tuberculosis, the cough thing, and it's highly contagious. So her friends could no longer come to the house, and her father really wanted her to somehow be able to keep in touch with her friends, although she's sick. So he now contacted this man to make these 3 typewriters, so the man made it in a magical house, a magical street, things like that. And there were only 3 of them, very unique typewriters. So Alouette had it, that's a rich man's daughter, with her 2 friends, which it's turning out that one of them now, Iris's nan, Daisy Winnow, DEW, that's what's under there. So the third typewriter, we are assuming that is Roman, like somehow the person is related to Roman. So we're going to find out, okay? So that's it. That's the history of the typewriters. And these typewriters are what's gold, because the first Alouette, the one that belonged to the girl, Alouette, that's her name actually. That's why it's named after her, the typewriters. The one that her father is rich now. The first Alouette is actually in the museum. And the other 2, if the other 2 turn up, the other 2 typewriters, this one that what's her name has, Iris has, if it turns up in the museum, is so much money. She can literally sell it on a very high bid and get a lot of money and be comfortable and do other things. But she's like, she's not going to sell it. She's going to take it to war. And Helena was like, oh, I thought so. Things like that. Because even Helena wanted to get it somehow. But hey, she's not selling, so let's wait for her. So when Roman got home from work that day, his father, Ronald, had on his table a strange crate labeled caution, handle with care. So Roman just told his dad, I'm not getting married. Ronald was like, is it because of that girl at the office? Is it because of Iris? That low life? That was when Roman now found out that his father is having him followed, because it's like, oh, both of you were on the park the other day, this is that, how can you be seen with such a girl? It's a good thing that your engagement wasn't already announced by that time you were with the girl, this is that, and you went to her house too. So that's when Roman was like, when would you stop, when would you stop having me followed? Ronald was like, when you get married. Do you understand? He said that, well, after you get married, Roman, you can sleep with anyone, but just don't give her your child. That kind of thing, like you should not have a child with her. Roman exploded. Like, why would his dad be looking down on people like that? So Ronald showed the crate containing bombs, at least what Roman assumed to be bombs. And, that crate that was labeled caution, handle with care. And the chemist and his daughter, Eleanor, the one that they want Roman to marry, they're the ones that made it in their lab. So Ronald wanted to be in a position to take titles when Dakre came to Oates. That's why he's doing all these things, because so that he can finally no longer be looked as new money, but be looked as an elite of Cambria. Cambria is a country where this story is taking place in. So when he wants to, he's a Dakre loyalist. He's loyal to Dakre just for title, because it's looking obvious that Dakre would win. And we're going to see more reasons why soon, okay? So Roman was disgusted with his father. Ronald, his father, reminded his son, Roman, that he should protect his mom, who is still grieving because of Roman's recklessness. Obviously, bringing up that guilt card again. So in his room, Roman was like just going through this maelstrom of emotions, like so many things that hitting him all at once. So he now hid Iris's letters on the floorboard, just in case his father would ransack his things and his room, so that he won't see those letters and go after Iris one way or the other. I mean, this is a rich, bitter man. Somehow he would find a way. So he wanted to protect Iris, so he hid her letters beneath the floorboard of his room. Now, the last detail about the Alouette typewriters is that the man who designed it, who put them together, the man vanished afterwards. So they don't know if it's God or human or anything that designed those typewriters, okay? So I feel like more history and more myths and more things about these typewriters will come up later. But right now, it's just typewriters that can, that friends used to use to communicate with, three friends. He used to allow them to communicate with each other no matter the distance. Obviously, instantly, as soon as she heard the story of this typewriters, that's when it clicked to Iris that this might be what is connecting her to whoever she's writing to, the nameless guy, even though she doesn't know for sure. But she's like, that's a big suspicion. Maybe it's not the house, okay? Maybe it's not. So maybe it's not Oates and the magic in it. Okay, so Helena, the boss at Ink Reading Tribune, she gave Iris some instructions about this new place that she's going to be going to. She now said, okay, you're going to Avalon Bluff. That's 600 kilometers west of Oates. It's close to the front lines where the war is currently raging on. There is a new chancellor, not the same chancellor as here. They have different laws. Pay attention to the rules so that you don't die. Okay? Everything there is important so you don't die. That's a big consequence. So Helena wanted facts and stories sent through the train every 6 days. She gave all the instructions. You can't carry so much clothes because they gave them a jumpsuit with in the front of it. It has this war correspondent tag to show that the neutral party in the war. I mean, neutral is relative, because if the enemy side gets you, they might kill you because they don't care if you're neutral. Okay? So you're still kind of, in a way, reporting incidents in favor of Enver. Most of them are, although you're meant to be neutral in quotes. Okay? So she got on the train. Halfway through the journey, the train stopped. It said that to continue at night because the zone they're about to enter, it's like really dangerous. So on the train, Iris happened to meet another girl, Thea Atwood, but they call her Athy. So not Thea, just Athy. She's another war correspondent, still from Ink Reading Tribune. So the way Thea was wearing her grey jumpsuit, her war correspondent jumpsuit was more stylish. I mean, and Thea is older than Iris by 2 years old. So by the time the train moved in the night and they arrived at Avalon Bluff, their destination, it was like 10:30 p.m. and it felt haunted. The town so quiet. The moon had this fingernail, that shaped like a fingernail, very more than half crescent. It was dark. It was quiet, total silence. So they found a bed and breakfast that they'll be staying at. They met Marisol, and even when they knocked, so the way she came in, she was careful. Who is there? She was like, oh. So when they came, she was like, hurry, come inside. I never know who's out on the streets. And it's not like there's no electricity or anything, because you can see the fridge was working when they opened it. But the lights are out. They're using candles. So we're about to know why this is happening, okay? And then you need to see the windows are covered with boards and doors as though to keep something out. It's all strange. It's all like has this creepy feel going on. So Marisol is 33 years old, but she has the looks of a 25-year-old. Like, she looks really young, really baby, really pretty. So Marisol fed them very well. After now finished, now started sharing the rules with them and said, oh yeah, there are 3 different sirens that happen in this place. The first siren will wail continuously at night. And when you hear that wailing continuously at night, you know you have 3 minutes to off all the lights, to lock yourself inside. That means hounds are coming. those hounds that look like wolves now that Dacre used to send from underground. You get? So then the second siren is that it wails continuously at day. And when you hear the siren, you have only 2 minutes before Atrials arrive. Those things that look like dragons now, but only have 2 legs. Those disgusting things. They don't breathe fire actually, but they carry bombs in their clothes. So people that are Dacre loyalists will make bombs and put it there. Dacre will know how he so. Do you get? So if you're inside your house, lower the windows, sit quietly. If you're outside, lie down. Wherever you are, stay still, because apparently I think they're blind also, because they don't see people. They mostly act based on sound. So it's why trains don't move around at daytime, because you can easily outrun hounds at night than outrun Atrials that fly in, that can just drop bomb on the train, and that's the disaster. Okay, so now the last siren is that it wails intermittently at any time. At any time at all. It has not wailed yet, but the moment you hear that kind of siren, it means that the soldiers in the front lines have failed, the enemy is coming, and everybody should flee to the next town. So for that reason, they have what you know as dash packs prepared, ready in the pantry with supplies that can take each person, like dash packs now, small bags that should be able to take you to the next town, at least has food and basic essentials to keep you walking, or however until you get to the next town. So sirens are in a town with a great vantage point, like the next town, Clover Hill. It has a great vantage point that can see when those creatures, whether it's the Atrials or hounds, are coming. That's how they're able to warn other surrounding places like Avalon Bluff and that. So by morning, Marisol told them we'll take food to the infirmary and to the wounded soldiers. So it now came time. She took them up above the stairs, asked them to choose their rooms. And although electricity is available, nobody turned on bulbs. Everybody just said, let them carry candle. That's another reason why they use candles. It's easier to blow off candle, like to just hold a candle than to do that than to turn off a bulb. So that night, Iris couldn't sleep. So she now wrote to the nameless body, that her nameless friend now. She now asked that, do you happen to have the other half of the myth? That first myth he shared now about Enva and Dacre, things like that. She now told him that about her the silence and the new place she's at, and she thinks there is a magical link between them. So she have expected the paper to disappear, because this is the first time she's writing to him after she found out about their connected typewriters. The paper disappeared. So the nameless somebody replied Iris's letter in 2 minutes. He was like, you're 600 kilometers away from Oath? Did you go to war? He was all concerned. And then she replied, it's different here. It's quieter in a strange way. Shadows, silence, locked doors, whispers. And then she told him, I'm still grieving, but just like you said, I'm learning how to navigate it. And then she's like, so about that myth, can you still get it? Then he's like, okay, there's no promises I'll find it. The first one is even by luck I found it. But you be safe and well. I'll do my best and things like that. So the next day, Marisol's neighbor, Peter, he had this roasted green lorry. So Marisol, Iris and Arthur, they loaded baskets of bread that Marisol had baked onto the lorry with 2 soups. So that's food for the soldiers. They now drove to the infirmary. So some soldiers were missing limbs, some with bandaged faces, burns, scars, just a horrific sight. Some were upright and talkative. So the air tasted like cherry medicine syrup, lemon floor cleaner, cold stainless steel, all cloaking a hint of sickness. Like, it's not a good place to be at. So the girls had intended to interview the soldiers, but then when you're met with such a grieving sight, it seems so inconsequential. Like, why should I be interviewing these guys for news? Seeing what they're going through. Let's be a human being. Let's be compassionate. So that's how Iris ended up finding out that what one soldier girl wanted is letters that they wanted sent to their families. So just like that, she started writing down letters, taking down letters that many of the soldiers wanted sent to their family members. So as for how she could reach her brother, since I'm looking for my brother, that's the reason why I even agreed to come here. It's my only family. This is that. One girl was like, you can write a letter to so-and-so person, but hey, it may not, this is a time of war. Things are in disarray, but just write. So at that night, when she went home, Iris typed all the letters that the soldiers wanted to be sent to their families. So when she finished, that moment she just finished with the last letter and she just removed it from the typewriter, a letter arrived from the nameless boy, like the other half of the myth. So actually he confessed that his nan had helped him. He had to bribe her with biscuits and a visit. and, also had to endure some grammar things. Now with some grammar said, that why do you have pointed chin like your father? Why is your hair long? You look something like a rogue or a knight errant. Like, Sasha, just grammar, rough talk, but it's full of love, things like that. He had to endure it to get this other half of the mate's tale. And so the nan, how she told the story is that Emma wasn't happy when she had to go beneath ground to stay with Dakre. After, now she did it so that he would stop waging war on mankind and things like that. She wasn't happy in the realm below. No matter what, what's his name, Dakre tried to do for her, she was not happy. She really smiled, and he really wanted to please her. It was not like, okay, can you play and sing your music for us? Because he knows that whenever she sings her music, does her music, her face is glowing. So he gathered everybody, his minions, his hounds, his atrials, his human servants, his ugly horde of brothers. Everybody came together in the courts. And that's when she now started playing her music. Initially, it was a lamenting song because she was unhappy now. And she noticed that everybody became sad. Tears were in their eyes. She was not like, why is my music influencing them like this? She now did joyful song. Everybody was boisterous. Playing, shouting. So take she come fear, say stone go fall on their head. Then next thing, she now sang a lullaby. Everybody slept. They slept for 3 days. She took that time to study the underground fortress. She memorized the twists, the bends, the secret doorways. Okay. Then by the time they were waking up, and then they saw that the light had long since died and everything, and then they thought she was gone. She's like, oh no, I'm here. I just woke up a minute ago too. That kind of thing. Then a week later, Dakre was like, I missed your song. Sing for us again. She sang the same thing, and then she now sang the lullaby twice as long, and they slept for 6 days. So by the time they woke up, she was gone for good. It's not like that one that because angry, Dakre gathered everybody, let's go for war. But by the time he came out of the underground realm to fight now, Enva was ready. She was waiting with the host of the sky. And then they fought them, chased them down back inside there. Her arrow even shot him. So he retreated into the fire of the earth. He was planning revenge. But no matter how much he would try, he would not win because Enva knew his underground fortress well. So 2 centuries later, Enva now came again to that underground place with her harp, and then she vowed to put them to sleep for at least 100 years. So there's been debates by humans who, was she successful, was she not successful? Because these things are myths to them, they don't know for sure. So, but the lessons most human beings drew from the story is it's not wise to offend a musician and choose your lovers wisely. So this myth, as she now received the second part and she heard about it was not making Iris wonder, are you sure it's not Enva that made those 4 gods sleep? The other 4 gods that they're thinking, both Dakre and some other ones again that would probably come up as we continue the book. Are you sure that it's not only their 4 graves, she put them to sleep, and then she has just been wandering in secret, the only god, but she was just alive and stayed very low key. Maybe she struck a deal with mortals, and then the mortals now said they put the gods to sleep, but it's her. No wonder Dakre, it made sense, because when you're thinking that Dakre woke with his revenge in his blood chasing Enva, are you sure it's not her that did that thing to him? So she now wrote back to Nameless Boy and thanked him up for sending the letter to her and sharing the myth. Now told him about the wounded and dying soldiers at the infirmary that she met, that they don't regret fighting against the evil, but they actually just want one thing, for their letters to reach home. She now pleads with him to send them to her loved ones, that should pay for postage. He's more like, that he doesn't mind. Then she also asked him, what about your typewriter? Does it have a silver plug on the side? And what's engraved there? He now replied that the typewriter he uses belonged to his grandma, that's his nan. And it had this engraving, the second alouette, made especially for HMA. His nan's initials. So that's, their grandma were friends. Their grandmothers were friends. So he also immediately concluded, I think we're connected by typewriters. Really smart guy. Catches on super quick. Iris was in the process of replying to what he said, and then she now heard the wail of a siren. That's the hound siren. She only had 3 minutes. So in the process of trying to tell him that, she has to go, things like that, she made 3 typos. She never makes typos. She was like, I have that to go. Sorry, like with 2 Y's. And then more later, the later is a W, like LATWR instead of LATER. And then she covered the window, blew out the light. She ran to Marisol's room, met Arthur in the hallway. They both went there. All of them she was shaky. She tripped on rug. And, and they blocked the door of Marisol's room with the heaviest furniture. And then suddenly the siren stopped. There was such a stillness in the night. Marisol had a loaded gun, and everybody was just ready. Next thing, they heard the sirens beneath the window at the ground floor, scratching at the door, shaking the house as if it would shake it out of its foundation. It left. They returned. It was like a loop, and it continued all night long. So, meanwhile, Roman was imagining what's going on. Like, why is she not replying? What's going on? Did they start bombing there? Is she hiding somewhere? Is she hot? He never read her letters. He was aching for her, things like that. So he couldn't sleep. He went to the kitchen, met his nan there. And then his nan was like, what are you up doing? He's like, I'm waiting for a letter. She was like, a letter in the dead of the night. He's like, yes. And then she beamed. And it's rare for her to smile. She's someone who rarely smiles. She was now like, good, you're finally putting my typewriter to good use. You must be writing to Daisy Winnow's granddaughter. And because both Daisy and his grandma, Roman's grandma, they both chose to keep their typewriters in the family instead of donating it to the museum. Okay? So Nan's family, they're upper class snobs. Like Roman's family, they're upper class snobs built on new money. And Aliwet too is rich. So Roman doesn't understand how both of them had a friend who doesn't have money. Roman's grandma was like, her and Aliwet didn't care about Daisy's status. They just liked her as a person. She was a dreamer, innovative, and open-hearted. So Nan now told Roman the story of their connected typewriters, how it happened. And then she now asked, so what kind of person is Daisy's granddaughter? So Roman is like, based on what you said about your friend, I think Iris is like her grandma. So Nan was like, don't let her slip away. That sort of thing, that she's 75 years old. She can tell that the world is about to get darker. And at such a time like this, you need to hold on to good stuff. So by morning, Roman got a letter from Iris that she was fine. So later that day, she was gardening with Marisol. And, with Marisol and Ate, the garden was a mess, a big mess. And there was gouges on the claw marks, like on the floor, on the soil. And it was like, ugh, so creepy. So Marisol was like, it used to be her wife who used to take care of the garden. And her wife travels a lot. So obviously you can hear her wife. So this is a lesbian relationship. But they didn't delve into it. So anyhow, how the name of Marisol's wife is Keegan, because Marisol wears his wedding band. You get? So she had come to the B&B, and then she had kind of said something about the garden that it's not kept well. And Marisol had been angry, and then Keegan felt bad and helped with the garden, made it really good. She traveled, but came back, they got married, things like that. But then Iris was now thinking, for the garden to be in the States, it means that Keegan went somewhere and hasn't been back for a long time, because the garden is in too much disarray. That means it has missed Keegan's touch severely. So that night, Iris and her nameless boy flirted. And it started with Iris asking, would you ever want to meet me? So he replied, yes, but you're far away. And she's like, I want to see you. I want to hear your voice. In the back of her mind, she said, I want to touch you. But she didn't write that part. So he was like, he wants the same, along with other things they'll do together. If she was back in Olt, they'll visit the library, scour for Moments, they would meet his grandma, things like that, just sweet things, basically. So later the next day, Iris received letter confirming that her brother enlisted in the army. But then that's the only information they had. For her to get more information to her, she had to write to a certain brigade person. And she was warned, though, that a male running is not reliable. So Iris just said, okay, she starts to route to that brigade person. So later she was working on the articles now, the articles that they're paying her money to be there for at the front line. But it was a struggle. And then on her table, she had this jar that contained her mom's ashes. She hadn't spread it yet because she didn't know where to spread it. So Ati too was kind of struggling with her articles. So both of them decided to go on and work. And on their work, Ati was like, I think Marisol isn't telling us something. Not like she's keeping something bad from us, but not telling us something because she's trying to protect us. So later, Iris was like, Ati, what do you think about love at first sight? Do you think it's possible? So with every exposure that they're getting because of the war, how swift and short life can be, I feel like these days, I think anything is possible, y'all. Okay, these are not stable times. You're not really looking so much to the future as you're looking at to be happy and to have light to hold on to at the present moment. Yes, that's how it is. So that night, Iris sent a note to her nameless man. So she listed 8 things she knew about him. She was like, here are the things I think I know about you. 1, you slouch sometimes. 2, you have your father's chin. 3, you have perfect hair, somewhere between rogue and knight errant. 4, you have a nan who's full of mint. 5, you're Dell's older brother. 6, you live in Oates. 7, you're 19. I added up from your previous letter. You can guess which one. And then 8, you have impeccable writing. And then she now said, things I don't know about you. 1, your name. He now replied that his name is Carver. And his sister Dell used to call him that. So her reply, that's when she introduced herself. Because remember, she thinks she does not know this person. So that's why he even gave her his middle name, Carver. That's it she's always teasing him about. Yes? So she now introduced herself to her and said, my name is Iris. Then he was like, oh, now I guess why, you refer that your brother calls you Little Flower. Because, her first letters now, she thought she was writing to her brother and she used to sign her letters Little Flower. He was like, oh, that's where Little Flower comes from. As though he does not know. Okay, so the next day, it's another dark day, war times and all. So Laurie came into Avalon Bluff, the infirmary with wounded soldiers. There was a female soldier that Iris helped down. She even vomited, seeing the injuries in the soldiers, many things. The female soldier, her stomach was kind of cut open, intestines and things like that. See, I cannot describe this thing because me too, it's doing me shish in my body. But we can just get the fact that I am not a war person, so I will not be doing stories about war. Next time before I pick up a novel, I'm going to look online and see what it's about. I'm not going to, I'm telling you. But let's finish the story, okay? So Iris was trying to signal a nurse, hey, this person needs you, this person needs you. The nurse was haggard, so many people to attend to. She now told her that, see, I can't help her. That's not someone I can help. Just try to keep her comfortable until she dies. So that's basically many of the soldiers they're bringing into the infirmary. Many of them don't even make it because they're in such a bad way that the doctor can't do anything. But then they just have to be brought there so that they can die, find a way to die peacefully. Please ignore the noise and the chattering pots in the background. Because people I live with in this house say that I'm not going to shine. But I will shine, okay? Actually, I borrowed that last part from somebody. I heard my friend say that on one of her videos, and it was funny. Okay, let's continue with the story. So Marisol, Iris, Ate, they donated their feather stuffed pallets, their beds for wounded soldiers. They literally dragged all the beds in the B&B and brought it to the infirmary for the soldiers. That's sacrificial. Okay, so all that was left is bed frames and quilts at the house. Then a middle-aged man dressed in threadbare officer's uniform was there. He was talking to a doctor. So he's a captain. And then when he saw that Ati and Iris are war correspondents now with the news correspondents for the war and things like that, he wanted to take one of them to the front line. So the 2 girls, they flipped a coin. So Ati ended up going. Back at Oates, Roman and Eleanor, the girl that he's supposed to marry, they had lunch. I mean, it was so cold. Eleanor actually has someone she loves, but she can't be with the person. She has to be her father. So Roman was asking, so what is that thing that both of you build? And you people are building bombs. And she's like, they're not bombs. But you find out when we get married and things like that, what those things are. So after the dinner, after the lunch she had with the girl that was so cold, did not make him any assured that he and this girl would even walk out or become friends because she's distant and things like that. So after that lunch, he saw people gathered around a newspaper stand and he just had to draw close. It was by the Ink Reading Tribune and the cover, The cover article was written by Iris. Her article name is Ink Reading Iris, The Unexpected Face of War by Ink Reading Iris. He bought a paper. He's not supposed to, in that he's working for the competitor and things like that. But he bought a paper. He went to a strict corner. He read everything. He was so proud of her. She was writing brave, bold things. He desired the same. So back now at Avalon Bluff, They buried dead soldiers, cleaned up blood, really sorrowful. Marisol now confessed because actually Iris asked, it's just Iris and Marisol left. Athletes at the front lines. So Iris now asked Marisol, that is there something you're not telling us? That's how Marisol ended up confessing that her wife, Keegan, was fighting in the war. And the reason that she didn't say so is because I know that you war correspondents are meant to be writing from a neutral perspective. I didn't want to get in the way of that. So that's when Iris was like, that doesn't make that. Actually, Helena would still send us to you because she knows my brother. Like Iris now, her brother Forrest is fighting the war and she still sends her ahead as a war correspondent. That's to tell you that the whole neutral thing is not entirely neutral, but okay. Iris asks how long has Keegan been gone for. Keegan has been gone for 7 months. That night, Iris now wrote to Kava, because now she has a name, no longer nameless boy, Kava, that it's really hard writing about the war, being here. She feels inadequate. He encouraged her to keep at it, that you have the words, it's inside of you, just keep at it. Then Athi, the next day or so, Athi returned from the front line. She was withdrawn. It was night and Athi was on the roof connecting her window to the outside. And then she was admiring the stars with binoculars. So they traded secrets, the girls, Athi and Iris. Iris told her that actually she has this boy, Kava, she's been writing to. They have connected typewriters and she thinks she's in love with him. So that's when Athi understood why Iris asked her about first love stuff. Then Athi now told Iris that she used to play violins. Actually, she comes from a musical family. They play the piano, the violin, many stringed instruments. But because Enva uses stringed instruments, a harp now. So when the war broke out, because of Enva's music, they banned music in oaths that nobody should be using all those things. So because of that reason, the constable came, seized all the instruments in most people's houses. But her dad knew how much she loved music, so he had kept one for her, like a violin for her, hid it in the wall compartment. So she played it in the basement at the day when the street is alive and nobody can hear. Not even her siblings knew she had it. So that's her own secret, artist secret. And the thing is, Arthur used to be so angry about Enva, the war. Like, why would Enva recruit people and send them off to war? All those things. Like, what's up with that? Why is this even happening? But after she went to the front lines, the main front lines and returned, like Arthur, she's no longer angry with Enva because she now knows that without Enva's involvement, Dark Ray would reign. He would win without a fight. And she knows that actually more people are needed for them to have a chance to win this war. And Arthur was also sad. There was no music to show people at Oath what is happening, why this war is happening, and that they need help. That's when Iris held her hand and said, but we have our pens. We can show them what we write about the war. So we're making a difference in this way. Kava sent the myth about Enva's harp to Iris. Apparently, Enva's harp is the only one of its kind. It's firstborn in the clouds. It has a frame of dragon bone, strings of hair stolen from the fiercest harpies in the skies. I don't know what harpies are, but I'm going to confirm by the next time we'll see. And then it has a frame held together by wind. Okay? So this Enva's harp is heavy to mortals, like if a mortal person were to carry it. And actually, it's only Heva that can truly make it sing. So that in that same letter, Kava now told Iris that he's going far away. He's going away from Oath, but he's going to write her when he can. Iris sent letters. Where are you going to? Things like that. But she knows that obviously he's no longer home to answer her letters. So she's just like, okay, I just have to wait for him to get in touch. It's hard, but I have to wait for him to get in touch. So the next day, Iris and Artie, they're planting seeds in the garden. And then they now heard the siren for atrials. You get now, like that continuous siren during the daytime. The one at night is for the hounds, 3 minutes. So they had 2 minutes before the atrials arrived. At this time, Marisol was at the infirmary. But she had given instructions, in case such a thing occurs. Athi, Iris is what he has to do, cover the ground floor windows, sit still, things like that. But then as Iris went upstairs to cover, because Athi was covering the ground floor windows, Iris was now covering the windows that are upstairs. Do you get? So as Iris was covering the windows, that's when she now saw someone through her window walking on the golden field toward Avalon Bluff. Like the person was somehow close, but not that close. She can't see who it is, but she can just see somebody walking when the person is supposed to be lying down on the floor She now had to go and grab a binocular to see who the person is. She now saw that he's a war correspondent, and the person is none other than Roman confounded Kit. Yes, today the C for her stands for confounded. So she was like, oh my god, his ignorance would draw a bomb, but obviously her heart also leapt. Like, oh my god, what is Roman doing here? I can't even imagine him dead. I don't want him dead. So she now started racing. Leapt over stone wall, dash street, neighbor's yard. And then she was now close enough for him to see her. That's when he now dropped his load, because he was carrying his typewriter case and under bag. And then he dropped it. He now started running towards her. So when they now kind of almost collided, she now pulled him down and now laid on his butt. This kind of thing, they now tumbled through the grass before they lay still. His hand was now on her back, and she was like, don't move. Whatever I do, don't move. Next thing, the HRLs came. You can just feel when they come, because the weather all around changes. Feels like shadows, cold air, screeches like nails on chalkboard. Do you understand? So they were just lying there, held their breath. The atrials, they flew, and then before they now started going away. As they now cleared, you can literally feel the shadows flee, the air warm, lights brighten, the wind is returning. So, and it's an intimate position that these two are lying in. Do you get that kind of thing? Her hair is across his mouth, she's sweating and it's dripping on his neck, yet he lays still. And she's feeling butterflies in her stomach. And at the same time, she now remembered Kava. The guy she's like writing letters to. She now feels guilty. Look at me, feeling butterflies for Roman when there is Kava, So next thing that she sat up, she now asked him, what the hell are you doing here, Kit? And then his hand slid from her back, because it was on her back now before. He now slid to her hips. And she was thinking, I should knock his hands off. Or I should slap him, or I should kiss him. But why am I not doing anything? He now smiled at her and now said, it's good to see you again too, Winnow. And this is where part B ends. And we'll finish part C tomorrow. So please hang around for that. I really tried to shorten this story, but this is not easy to do. This career path I've chosen, but it's really fun. Sometimes it's not, because I think I spoke really fast today, but I hope you got this. And see you tomorrow. Bye.